let's talk about football. We've had an entertaining week of football on, the Premier League. Obviously, that is called Premier League for a reason, right? I'm a Manchester City fan. I'm on and off. I watch the games when I can, but this weekend I was home, so I watched the games. I watched most of the games. I watched the Manchester City game. I watched the Chelsea game, and I watched the Arsenal game as well. The only game I didn't watch here was the Liverpool game. The Liverpool, they're going to win it seems like they're going to win the league anyway. So, they only need maybe two more games to win. They only need to win two more games and then they win the league, which I'm hoping they do because, they've worked really hard all through the season and they deserve it for sure. But then let's go over the league table from before we get into this, before we analyze the games that we are playing today. Here we have let's see what we have on the table here. Liverpool obviously is topping the charts with 76 points. So again, they need maybe 9 points to win. Just 9 points maybe, and then Arsenal, even if they win all their games, and it doesn't look like Arsenal is going to win all their games anyway. Arsenal, even if they win all their games, they still wouldn't be able to catch up. So just 9 games, and with that 9 games would put Liverpool at 85 points, and Arsenal having 6 games at hand. If they win all 6 games, they would have 81 points in total. But like I said, Liverpool only needs 9 points to get to 85 points, and that's it. That's it. So I know they're going to do it, especially in the form that they're currently at. I know they're going to get 9 points easily in the next 6 games that they have. And Arsenal, again, 63 points in the second position. Played 32 games. They drew yesterday, which was bad. I would expect them to be, doing the most that they can to get as close as possible, at least to the 81 points that they need, right? But they drew yesterday, and that's what it is. Nottingham Forest lost their game to Everton yesterday as well. You would think, these people, the people top in the, at the top four at this point of the season, where you only have 6 more games left, you think everybody will be striving to win all the games at least they have in hand to maintain their spots at least. Even if you're not going to win the league, at least maintain your spot, because a lot of people are coming from behind and wanting to take your spot, right? And we all know the Champions League football is where everybody wants to go. So you would expect everybody who's here right now to, or I would expect them to win all their games so they maintain their spot at the very minimum, right? And then we have Newcastle United, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. They beat Manchester United by 4-1 today. That was an interesting game for sure. And then Manchester City came from behind to beat Crystal Palace 5-2 yesterday. Incredible. I love that game, even though the team has been going through a lot this season. They've been resilient. They've tried their best. They've done what they can. Even still dealing with injuries, especially Rodri in the midfield, still out of play all through the season. Kevin De Bruyne's been on and off, and ultimately announced his retirement for the season at the end of the season. So he's not going to be he's not going to be signing a new contract with the club with Manchester City for next season. I know everybody's very proud of him. He's arguably the best midfielder the Premier League has ever seen. He started obviously from Dortmund and then moved to Chelsea and then moved to Manchester City. So he's played very good games. He's been a playmaker, and people have been asking, where is he going to go next? I think I saw an article where he said he would rather play with Ronaldo than Messi, because Messi is also a playmaker. And this wasn't a shade anyway. It wasn't a shade, by the way. He was just emphasizing the fact that Messi is a playmaker and he himself is a playmaker too. He wouldn't want to go there and compete with Messi, right? But he would rather play with Ronaldo, where he can be the playmaker and Ronaldo is the one scoring, which is a fair way to assess that, right? But anyway, on number 6, we have Chelsea with 54 points, and they're at number 6 position. And they drew their game today, if I'm not mistaken. They drew their game against Ipswich Town. Moving forward, we still have Aston Villa in the 7th position, 54 points, same as Chelsea. We have Fulham, 48 points in the 8th position. And here are the interesting people, right? Manchester United, which is supposed to be a big team. They had 14th position at this point, at this stage in the league, the 32nd week of the season. And then we have Tottenham still at 15th position. This is very interesting. This is very close to the relegation, even though we know they're not relegating for sure, right? We know for sure they're not relegating, but it's just a shame that these big teams are at the bottom right now, 14th and 15th position. And Chelsea, another interesting game. That was an interesting Ipswich Town that they drew with, or they drew against. Ipswich Town is in the 18th position, and Chelsea can't for their life. They can't for their life win or beat Ipswich to get ahead. That was an interesting game. That's for sure. My apologies there. I'm looking at the score sheet now, and for the Chelsea game, it was Ipswich was 2-0, like 2 goals up, and then Chelsea came from behind to equalize the game, which shouldn't be in any case anyway, because Ipswich Town is struggling for relegation. And I know in the relegation teams right now, also scratch the teams that are almost at the relegation are struggling not to go to relegation. So they could be the most dangerous teams to be playing at this point. But regardless, Chelsea is a top team, and you would expect them. Chelsea is a top team. I mean, I heard someone say the former big teams. Chelsea is a former big team, and you can't argue that, right? You can't argue that. Chelsea is a former big team. I mean, the way they're playing now, Chelsea is definitely a former big team. Manchester United is also a former big team. Tottenham is a former big team, because for the life of them, they can't get it together. Manchester United is another one, right? Today, they went to Newcastle United and lost 4-1. Another interesting game. Even though they benched Onana and they brought in their second keeper, I mean, I can't even fault that guy, right? Because he's not been consistent. You need game time to be good. I mean, I know he's in practicing and all that, but still, you need game time, like actual game time, to be honing your skill, making your skills good. And Onana has been the one playing all this while, but still, he's dragged the team and been putting out bad performances. But at least today, they made that big step and replaced the keeper to the second keeper. He did what he could, but still the team lost 4-1 to Newcastle. And ultimately right now, Manchester United is in the 14th position. I don't know, but if anybody knows what could be the problem with Man United, I'll be very interested to know. That's for sure. I mean, Manchester United just can't get it together. It doesn't seem like it. Chelsea is another team that somehow can't get it together. But at least Chelsea is way better up. They are in the 6th position compared to Manchester United that is in the 14th position. But hey, it's the 32nd week, and we have, again, Liverpool 1, Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Manchester City, and Chelsea. These are the top 6 clubs right now on the table. And I don't think the table is going to end like this. That's for sure. I think it's going to be scrambled up a little bit. I hope Manchester City can get out from the 5th position ultimately and maybe get to the 3rd position, because that would be a more even though the Premier League would be having 5 slots in the Champions League this season anyway. So, but it would be best to get out of that 5th position. I'm being biased here because Manchester City is my club, right? But it would be best for them to get out of that 5th position and go to the second. It would be very hard to get to the 2nd position, but at least get to the 3rd or the 4th position and be there. I think it's possible. I think it's very possible. I mean, Newcastle right now is on fire. Nottingham Forest, obviously, they lost their game yesterday to Everton. So I still think the 4th position for Manchester City is very doable. That's for sure. Arsenal will be heading to play Real Madrid during the week in the Champions League. Obviously, we saw what they did over the last week. They beat Real Madrid 3-0 with Declan Rice obviously giving his superb free kicks. He did it one time and then did it again. That was incredible. They beat Real Madrid ultimately 3-0. We know Real Madrid are the ultimate comeback kings. They've been coming back all through. They've done it several times, and I know for sure that they're looking to come back from this 3-0 loss that they have. But we're gonna come back next week when they've played the game during the week. We're gonna come back and talk about the game as well, right? But right now, Please let me know. How do you think the league is going to end? I know for sure, I mean, I don't see any way Liverpool is going to lose this. Is going to lose this title race, right? It seems like they've solidified their position right there. The only team that would have given them a run for their money would have been Manchester City, but unfortunately, Manchester City is in the 5th position right now, so Manchester City can't do that. Hopefully next season, but ultimately, I think Liverpool wins this league. But the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th position, I don't see it ending like this. I think some people are going to drop points. Some people are going to maybe go to the 4th, the 5th, or even get out of the 6th. But we'll see how that goes. But if you think you know how this is going to end, how the league table is going to end, who's going to be the 2nd, the 3rd, or the 4th, or even the 6th, please let me know. If you think you know what Manchester United needs to do to get out of the bad situation they're in, please let me know in the comment section. By the way, this is just my wrap up of the Premier League 32nd week, and they only have 6 more games to go, and it's going to be the end of the season. I'm looking forward to that. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you and peace.